are we going to lead, with instinct? Or are we going to lead with science? And we've been leading with science. And this is one of the reasons why Rhode Island is positioned so well.
David Yokum here. What's it like to be governor right now? What are you focused on? How are you spending your time? What's success over the next few years going to look like? And how can applied research help you get there? We're joined today by Dan McKee, the 75th governor of the country's biggest little state and home to the Policy Lab, Rhode Island. Governor McKee is on his 45th day as governor, but he's got a long tenure in politics, most recently as Rhode Island's lieutenant governor, and before that, a 6-term mayor of Cumberland, Rhode Island. If that's not enough for you, I've even got some big scoops about, don't tell anyone, his campaigning for high school student council. Welcome to 30,000 Leagues. Governor Dan McKee, welcome to the 30,000 Leagues podcast.
Well, it's great to be here, and looking forward to our conversation.
Well, let me begin by maybe taking us in a bit of a time machine with the first hard-hitting question, which is your high school days. You racked up all kinds of awards: most courteous, best personality, most school spirit, most sincere, most ambitious.
Well, high school was a long time ago, but I had a lot of good friends at the time. They were probably, throwing in extra votes to kind of, give me those awards.
So did you run for student office too?
I did. I was involved with, which was kind of it was the senior council. It was like a student council that I was involved in with school activities back in high school. I was also involved with playing sports. I enjoyed basketball. I played a lot of basketball, baseball. We had a good baseball team I played on. We won a state championship while I was playing in high school. So we spent a lot of time on working with good friends. They're still good friends today, and it's been a lot of years later. It's been 50 plus years later.
Of course, that was the start of your political career. Beginning in 2000, you've been the mayor of Cumberland, Rhode Island for an amazing 6 different terms before most recently becoming governor of Rhode Island. I'm curious what's been most similar as well as most different about the experience of being a mayor versus a governor.
Well, they are similar in respects in terms of the governance model, right? With the executive branch as a mayor, the legislative as a council, as a mayor, town council, and then a general assembly. So the structure is very similar. The actual work that goes day to day in managing a town or managing a state is just a matter of one's bigger than the other. The state's a bigger operation, but there's cabinet members that run specific things, whether it's finance or recreation or public works, and you have the same thing in the state government. So it's a little bit larger, but it's the same concept. You need to work with people. You need to, make sure you're connected in, and there's a fine balance between micromanaging and managing, right? So you've got to find that. You got to find that balance because you want to have good people doing their work, but at the same point in time, as a leader in both, as a governor now to the state and a mayor in a community like our town of Cumberland, we're directly accountable for the people that we serve. So that's the same, and it's just finding that balance to make sure that you're really fully aware of what's going on. And I'm in like day 45 governor right now. I'm counting the first 100 days, but I really want to make sure that I understand the issues as well as I can, whether it has to do with hospital issues or it has to do with the COVID issues. Certainly very involved in that right now. So I think that there's very strong similarities. I think it's just the scale.
Right. And in terms of, I know you're 45 days into it. You're kind of day to day, almost your hour by hour schedule. I'd be interested to hear kind of what the texture of that is like, particularly amidst COVID, where so much is by telework. You're kind of a telework governor in a lot of ways, which I imagine probably presents some challenges. You're not out there able to meet with people in the same way, hold the babies and all that. But maybe there are also some silver linings. So how do you kind of spend your hour by hour? How are you managing the telework aspect?
Well, you can't do everything by Zoom alone. That I think we all can agree on that. And so there's value in making sure that you are face to face. But it also, in a pandemic like this, it's a blessing that we have this type of medium to to communicate. Just alone today, in the effort to kind of know what's going on, I have daily calls, several calls a week with the Commissioner of Education and the superintendent in Providence. Front and center issue is the school takeover in Providence. I've been very involved with education as a mayor, and I tend to be as a governor. So you start that early in the morning. 7 o'clock you start your call, 7:30 you're on that. Then you shift into a Medicare call in terms of how to manage Medicare in the state of Rhode Island, and how to make sure that we're getting value and the cost as controlled as it can be. And then you get into another call, like I said, with the hospital merger, and then between that you had a call with the staff. So now I'm headed to the Veterans Home in Bristol with Senator Reed, because there's announcements to be made there that are related to the COVID and the different types of programs that are going to become available because of that. So that's another comparison, as you said, with the governor's office. So you jump from recreation to budget to police work to on and on. Same thing here. So that is very similar. And I think that's helped me be prepared for a transition like this that is unlike any other transition ever in the country, where a lieutenant governor became governor in midterm during a pandemic like this. So I think that was good training for me. I don't know about the high school stuff, but probably was good training at the time as well. But I'm glad you brought that up. Brings back good memories.
And when you maybe flash forward a couple of years with me now, we just continue along with our time machine here. What are your thoughts on what sort of success looks like in terms of your priorities as governor?
Yeah, that's the question, isn't it? I mean, I look at these opportunities, the positions, whether it was lieutenant governor, or mayor, or governor, as to be a blessing that you have this incredible opportunity to improve people's lives and to respond to their needs. So we're going to be putting together a 2030 plan, a Rhode Island 2030 plan, that we're going to engage many, many people to answer that very question in terms of what do we want Rhode Island to look like 10 years from now, and what are we going to do to make that happen. But I think it's in areas that people can agree on how important education is to young people and to our economy, both all the way through the university level in the state. And I think it's important on the health issues. We talked briefly about that. The infrastructure, what is the infrastructure going to look like? I just signed a Clean Air Act on Saturday. So what does our energy footprint look like? How well are we doing in controlling the climate issues that we're dealing with and the crisis there? So I think it's multifaceted, but I think in essence, it's improving our schools. It's making sure our economy is strong, strengthening our economy, and making sure that we're paying attention to people's health. And then the other piece that I think is going to be front and center, and it is right now and has been during my coaching. I did a lot of coaching. The coaching had probably a lot more to shape my positions today than high school did. But the equity issue is right front center. So I think that this equity issue is going to go across many veins in terms of just, some of the, very sad, disruptive type behavior that's been going on in policing out in the country right now, recently in Minneapolis. And so that's going to be a front and center issue, equity, and how housing rolls into that, how income rolls into that. So I think you want to make sure that everybody's got opportunity, and you want to make sure people are healthy, economy and education, and having, fiscally sound state municipalities and public safety to be people live in safe communities. That, I don't know whether that gives you enough, what I'm thinking about, but that's what I think that's why we're going to go out with this Rhode Island 2030 plan. I'm really excited about that. What an opportunity we have, kind of a once in a generation opportunity that COVID brings in terms of the investments that are going to be made available with the federal dollars in infrastructure, in state government, in municipal government, in our schools. This is a great opportunity that we want everybody involved in.
Right. As those priorities take more particular shape in the ways you're talking about, how do you kind of assess what Rhode Island's biggest, on the one hand, challenges, but also biggest assets are compared to other states?
Yeah, so well, the first thing is that, you go around the signs in the state of Rhode Island that Governor Chafee put up, discover beautiful Rhode Island. We have a beautiful state. This is a place people want to live in because of the nature we have here in terms of the beauty of our state, the diversity of our state, our educational institutions, certainly in higher ed, attracts many, many people. We just got to make sure that we provide an opportunity for young people to feel as though that they got a future here. And I think that's one of our biggest challenges, but I think it's also one of our biggest assets, right? Just the human capital that we have that grows up in Rhode Island, gets attracted to Rhode Island, and then our geography here, between Boston and New York, and then the ability for us to be internationally connected through all our communities that make up Rhode Island. One of the things I did as Lieutenant Governor, I really invite your listeners if they want to participate, because many of your listeners here are coming from other areas of the country, other areas of the world. We set up an international economic ambassador program in the Lieutenant Governor's office. And the goal was to link in people that lived in Rhode Island and to, as they travel, we ambassador them up, we pin them, as ambassadors for the state, and they network for us in other parts of the world. So I think that we are the state that's a small state, but we have a great deal of human capital, and we have the beauty of our state that attracts people. And that's why I think we can attract investment, and we can attract both the economic and also cultural advantages that we have in our state that really makes us very unique and gives us a great future.
And Governor, as you know, the Policy Lab has a core mission of working with the state to help share evidence, generate evidence to inform policymaking. I'm curious your thoughts on the role of data and evidence in your style of governing and how it does contribute to delivering on these priorities you're talking about.
I think it's extremely important. Your instincts are really important. You need to have strong political instincts of where to, how to communicate and how to make sure that progress is being made. And there's a skill set to be in politics. That's why they have political science majors, which I was one of that was one of my majors, was political science and education. But data is really important. Just think about what we're doing right now in the COVID issue, right? Are we going to lead, with instinct? Or are we going to lead with science? And we've been leading with science. And this is one of the reasons why Rhode Island is positioned so well, through the health department, through our strategic leaders and REMA, which is our emergency management team, along with the National Guard, with FEMA now, with my chief of staff, Tony Silva, who's a former police chief with me when I was a mayor, along with Tom McCarthy, who's heading up the COVID. There's a reason that we lead the country right now in vaccination rates. It has to do with the fact that we brought in data. I sought out. I did graduate from the Kennedy School a few years ago, and we got an F in terms of our rollout, in terms of our response on the COVID from them. In mid-February, I called them up. I talked to the former dean up there, and I talked to the staff that was putting that data together. And I asked them why is that happening? Well, that data and that information helped me shape a strategy now that we have the capacity in the state to do as many as 160,000 vaccinations in a week. That was driven by data in terms of strategy of how to build your capacity, get ahead of the, your demand is outweighing your supply right now. But we're going to be in a position because of those decisions that we made, and that I had a great deal of, certainly influence over as incoming governor, now governor. But now when other states are not keeping up with their vaccination rates, the president of the United States said we're going to get 200 million shots in the arms of the people, the United States citizens before his first 100 days in office. We're going to be in a position right now, if other states are not, keeping pace with their supply, we're going to get that supply. And then we're going to put shots in the arm. So when you talk about, that's a real life data driven example of how you need to take your your political instincts, your abilities in that respect and communication, but then also align it with good, strong data and then reasons of how we're doing it. So we're opening up the state of Rhode Island incrementally, kind of incremental flexibility, but that's being driven by data. And we want to know what the hospitalization rates are. We want to know what the infection rates are. We want to know, make sure, we don't want to, we've attended too many funerals. We're over almost 2,700 deaths in the state of Rhode Island. We don't need any more. So it's a combination of using data and then applying it in an intelligent way based on your skill sets in terms of communications and your instincts of how to, to be a good leader.
And for researchers that are excited to help try to contribute and generate evidence in that vein, do you have thoughts on how folks at universities or other nonprofits that are researchers can be of most help to you in the administration?
Yeah, so I mean, clearly on the issues that have to do with the COVID, but how about like data points in terms of, like I was talking about a Rhode Island 2030 program. Like I could go in a room and I could outline that, but that's coming from my instinct and my my personal knowledge. What about the economics that derive in terms of where you're going to put those investments and why are you going to put those investments in? Universities are uniquely positioned to provide you with that economic data in that point of view. How about in terms of, like, as I just said, in terms of the health outside of the COVID issues of driving good health policy in the state of Rhode Island? That, we got hospital mergers coming up. Why are we doing that? What is the economic advantage of doing that? That's all driven by data. What's the medical advantages of that? That's all driven by data. How do we control the cost if we actually do merge in and we have a kind of a one major player in the state of Rhode Island providing health coverages? That's all by data. So the Policy Institute, I think, is positioned extremely important right now because of a 2030 plan that we're going to put together as a governor. My plan is to run again in 2022. If I'm elected, we'll continue that process. If I'm not, we'll do a handoff of a plan that was not politically driven as much as real fact-based, data-driven.
Well, Governor McKee, I really appreciate your time today. We're about to be out of time. I don't know if there's anything else you were really hoping that we get a chance to chat about before you move on to your next thing.
Well, I think that, again, I can't get off the phone without talking about the importance of getting vaccinated. So as your listeners hearing that, I know I'm going to be on a call later this week or later today with university presidents, both public and private. I know that they're going to really put in policy like a chickenpox vaccination for students to do that with the COVID vaccination. So get vaccinated, in particular into the age group, the college age group. We're not going to be able to open up our universities fully unless we do that. And then the other thing I would just say is that we actually work with a core group of Brown University students as they're trying to identify areas that we could do better in the vaccination, and that's in the BIPOC community. Right now we have a separation between the percentage of population in the Black and the Hispanic community in particular against the percentage of vaccines, shots that have been given in those areas. So we're actually working with a group of Brown University students that are talking about vaccination, and we really applaud that. So I think that's the deal. And as we reopen our economy, reopen our schools, get involved. I mean, this is this opportunity. Like I said, not only this is an opportunity to reset and improve our state, but it's one to improve our country. And the things that we do in Rhode Island are going to have that impact. So I really encourage people to really get involved in it right now and call our office if you have an interest. Don't be bashful. If we can plug you in somewhere on a volunteer basis or in an intern strategy or even an employment strategy, we're going to want to do that. We're going to want to seek out the very best people that we can possibly find and the ones that are really committed to making Rhode Island this great place that we know it can be. And it is right now, but we want to make it even greater. We want to make it a really, we want everybody to want to discover the beauty of Rhode Island and all the different roles you can imagine that to be.
That's great. Well, Governor, thanks so much for joining the podcast. It's been a pleasure, and I'll look forward to the next time.
Excellent. Please stay in touch. Appreciate your time.
Thanks so much.
Yep.
Thanks for taking a deep dive with 30,000 Leagues. This podcast was hosted by David Yokum, Director of the Policy Lab at Brown University, and produced by Kelly Harris Crawley and David Yokum. You can find more conversations at 30000leagues.com or by subscribing wherever you listen to podcasts. Keep safe, keep calm, and narwhal on.